After winning 3 of the last 4 races, I come into Brno with high hopes, but honestly, I've struggled all weekend. Practice was rough, qualifying didn't go much better, and today, I'm starting all the way down in 19th. Plenty of work to do.
Just a few more moments of the check.
My initial launch isn't great, but as riders start going off track and bunching up, I slip past a whole bunch of them. By the time we hit turn 1, I'm already up to around 13th. In turn 1 itself, it's elbows out, pure survival, and claiming your space, which carries me past a few more and into 9th. A big dive bomb into turn 3 gets me past 3 riders, but of course, I run wide and both Carp and Keels come back through. Still, it nets me 1 position. I feel like I need to act with urgency here. The fastest guys of the season are already out front, and I can't afford to let them get away. So it's late on the brakes again into turn 5, and I swing around the outside to get back past Keels. But unfortunately, I just don't have the pace to stick with the front 6. Not much has happened in this one, and as we start the final lap, I'm still running in 7th with about a 1-second gap to the group ahead. But out of nowhere, it looks like Bertel and Carpe are starting to struggle with tire wear. Suddenly, the gap shrinks to just over half a second, and I'm closing in fast. Heading into turn 3, I can literally see the gap shrinking as I turn in. They both go super wide while I keep it tight, and on the direction change into turn 4, I close the gap even more. It's enough to pick up a solid draft from them on the straight. I reach Carpe's rear wheel as we turn and waste no time. The speed advantage is just too big. I slip past him on the inside and immediately shift focus to Bertel up ahead in 5th. Bertel is really struggling through the corners, and I've clearly got more speed in me. The front 4 aren't even that far ahead, so I'm trying to get past him quickly. I look to have him through the direction change between turns 8 and 9, but I run just a little wide, which lets him slip back in front. Still, I carry more speed out of the corner and come alongside him on the straight heading into turn 10, where I know the AI brake late and run deep, so I try to brake even later. Go a little wide, but carry a lot of speed through the corner. Bertel pulls alongside on the inside, but once again, I've got the speed advantage on corner exit. The front 4 are now too far away, so I settle for 5th, until Bertel absolutely murders me. Looking back at it in the replay, it's clear as day that Bertel was fully committed to the move, but from the gameplay cam, I just didn't see it coming at all. So I dropped to 19th, even 20th, with my teammate slipping through on the inside. No shot at a points finish, and what looked like a great final lap turns into a dramatic one. This is going to cost me a lot of points in the fight for the top 5 in the standings, maybe even worse. But then heading into the final corners, a yellow flag comes out. Rueda, my direct rival, has crashed from the lead, and in his rejoin, he takes out not 1 but 2 more riders, one of them right next to me, so I actually get lucky there. Unfortunately, it's not enough to sneak back into the points. I end up in 18th. Now what's even more painful is that my objective for each race is a points finish, so this result actually drops my reputation, and with it my shot at reaching Moto2 next season. But let's take a quick look at what happened to Rueda there. He had a decent lead going into the final 2 corners, but just washes out the front and then wreaks absolute havoc on his rejoin. At the end of the day, I get away with a bad result. Even though the gap to the front runners has grown, I'm still level with Rueda, who threw it all away. The top 3 seems out of reach for now, but Almanza in 4th is just a few points ahead. Next up is the Red Bull Ring, where we've got changing weather conditions, which probably means we're in for another red flag situation, since Moto3 doesn't have flag-to-flag races. My pace throughout the weekend was good, but after a wet qualifying session, I'm starting 16th on the grid. With a smart move, I survive the chaos into turn 1 and make up a few spots right away. Flying down the straight toward the still new and unfamiliar chicane, I hold the outside to turn it into the inside for the second part, gaining even more positions and breaking into the top 10. Then going into the awkward and tight turn 4, I once again take the wide swooping line and grab another position, already up to P9 after just 4 corners and right behind Rueda, exactly where I need to be. I make my move on Rueda, entering the first of the fast double left-handers by braking just a little earlier, letting him run wide and then cutting back underneath. That sets me up perfectly to immediately line up another pass for P7 in the second left-hander. The AI are a little slow through the change of direction, and I gladly take advantage by sneaking through on the inside, now up to 7th behind Kelso. But once again, I don't have the pace to actually close the gap to the front, and it becomes a few laps of just trying to hang on. So when we hit lap 3, I'm just under a second behind Kelso in 6th, and that's when the first drops of the expected rain begin to fall. And I'll be honest with you, at this point, I'm praying for a fast red flag. Like I said, with the wet qualifying, I struggled for pace, and I'm not feeling any more confident now with this transition from dry to wet. If the red flag comes out before the end of the lap, I keep my P7, but until then, it's elbows out, defending my position with everything I've got. And I've got to, because I immediately come under attack. At first, it looks like I've lost 7th, but I managed to counter through the direction change. We're getting closer to the end of lap 3 and still no red flag. I have to make sure I'm in 7th when we cross the line for lap 4. Closing in on the final 2 corners, Rueda comes flying out of nowhere from 8th, but he's too far back to launch anything into turn 10. He's right beside me going into the final corner, and I brake as late as I possibly dare to keep him from diving up the inside. I run a little wide, and trying to stay within the white lines, I'm late back on the throttle, while Rueda gets a much cleaner exit. It turns into a drag race to the line, which I lose by the tiniest margin. If the red flag is waved this lap, I'll have lost 6th to Rueda. I get alongside my big rival once more and outbrake him into turn 1. A little wheel spin on the exit, and then, there it is, the red flag. Just about 10 seconds too late for me to keep 6th. Gotta be honest, again, that's a disappointment. But overall, I'm kind of happy with the result. The top 5 were just a bit too quick for me today. At the end, it only cost me 1 point to Rueda, so the damage is limited. I'm still 6th in the championship, and more importantly, it's another points finish, which helps keep my Moto2 promotion hopes alive. Speaking of Rueda, the game gives me a new rivalry choice. One option is Almansa for some development points. Yeah, no thanks. Then there's Furusato for a small reputation boost. But the big one? Once again, it's Rueda. And this time the stakes are higher. Massive reputation points, but it also upgrades my team objective. That means a simple points finish won't cut it anymore. I now need a top 10 to boost my rep, but hey, in gaming, it's go hard or go home. So the obvious choice is Rueda. All right, round 14 in Hungary at the new Balaton Park. It's been a tough track to learn so far. No clear brake markers, no easy visual references, nothing to settle into. Starting 18th, my launch is okay-ish, but I cover a lot of ground into the first corner on the brakes, swooping past multiple riders, cleanly hitting the apex and coming out of it in 8th. I'm still figuring out my lines and building pace through the following left-handers, but after this long straight comes a quick section where I know I'm fast. It's late and hard on the brakes for the tight. Turn 5, but coming out of it, you really want to start building speed and momentum. This is one of those spots where you can lose a lot of time if you fall out of the natural flow of the track. On this opening lap, it's not my cleanest run, and to compensate, I don't close the throttle even though I run a little wide, which earns me my first track limits warning. I'm there fully dialed in on the brakes into the very tight chicane, passing Buchanan around the outside, under braking, cutting the corner just slightly for my second warning within 10 seconds. But it is what it is. At least I'm now right behind the front runners. Then braking into the next super tight chicane, I'm strong again and try to pass Moodley on the second part, but his exit is just good enough to stay ahead of me. Then going through the fast left-hander, I managed to be an idiot and completely unnecessarily cut another corner, earning my third track limits warning on the opening lap. Heading towards the final corners of a lap around Balaton Park, this is where I really struggle compared to the AI. They carry way more speed through the change of direction and onto the main straight, while I'm still trying to figure out the ideal racing line. Still, I crossed the line in 7th after lap 1, and honestly, I'm content with that. A little further into lap 2 and through my strongest sector, I've caught up with Moodley and set up another pass around the outside into the super tight chicane. I make the move stick and even dare to think about a podium for a moment. Third place isn't that far ahead, and I'm feeling good. But it's not to be. Once again, in this episode, I just don't have the pace to hang with the front runners. So as we start the final lap of this inaugural 100 Grand Prix, I'm still in 6th with a massive gap to the front and Buchanan and Moodley glued to my rear tire. I'm okay through turn 1, and heading into turn 2, I see Buchanan trying to line up a dive, but I manage to stay ahead. Then, diving from the fast turn 3 into the equally fast turn 4, I'm just a little offline, and Buchanan strikes immediately. I slot into his slipstream on the straight, ready to brake just a little later once we hit the markers. I get closer and closer, wait for him to brake, and then hit the brakes myself just after trying to stop in time to make the corner. I keep it somewhat tight around turn 5 and manage to stay ahead of Buchanan. Now we head into the fast section again. This is where I have to make the difference. I'm smooth through the fast section, clean through the tight chicane, and again clean through the hairpin. I've now got about half a second to Moodley in 7th. But this final sector has been a pain all race long. Definitely one of the spots where I lose the most time. And even though I feel like I hit the chicane pretty well, my little gap is gone completely, and Moodley is now right on my ass. With a good exit, I'm hoping I can keep him behind on the straight toward the final chicane. I'm the first to hit the brakes and clip the first apex just fine. Maybe a little wide through the direction change, but it's all right. Heading into the final corner, Moodley has a quick look, but he's still behind me as we come onto the straight. He's closing in, the finish line is right there, but I miss an upshift and Moodley comes by for one of my closest finishes ever. Was it really that missed upshift that made the difference? Man, that's a bummer, but honestly, I'm just glad this one's over. This race was a full-on struggle bus. So let's quickly continue to the final race of this episode and maybe end it on a high. We're at Catalunya now, and I've just managed to take my first ever pole position of this career. Let's see if I can convert it into a victory. Once again, I'm not great off the line, and it's elbows out immediately with Almanza, while David Munoz slips past and takes the lead. It's such a long run to turn 1 that I dive into his slipstream, wait for him to brake, and then just brake a little later to pull alongside. I keep it nice and tidy through turn 1 and manage to retake first position, got it back quickly after losing it, exactly what I needed. And from this point on, I'm not planning to be seen again by the others. Starting lap 2, I've managed to pull a gap of just over a second. Definitely not safe yet, but promising. In lap 2, I up my pace, and by lap 3, I've stretched the lead to over a second. So starting the 5th and final lap, I'm comfortably leading the race, ready to take another victory. And so we reach the final sector here at Barcelona. Finally, I was competitive and more. It's been a tough episode with some tough results and harsh realities. Mainly that I just haven't been fast enough for a podium lately, but at last we ended on a high. Not too many races left now in this Moto3 rookie season, and with this strong result, I re-enter the top 5 in the standings. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.